Hi. David Toulis.
Yep.
David Toulis here with Nugenomics.com. Thank you for joining me here. We are going to look at the local economy and at local economy without the direct article. The local economy is one thing, and local economy with the indirect article or no article, meaning and, are separate topics. And really, the idea of local economy itself without the in front is about the idea of every man providing a service for numerous or maybe any other man with his business and his calling and his genius exercised in the marketplace. The local economy is something that you read about in the newspaper, in the business section of the Chattanooga Time Free Press. Dave Flessner, Mike Perry, Ellis Smith, and other writers cover the local economy. And at Nuga.com, Chloe Morrison writes about it as well. She covers writes stories about businesses and capital and adventure in the marketplace. But local economy as a concept, I think, is valuable because it's not just about a particular place. In fact, it's about the idea of a place and how a man like you, my listener, live in a place and live and have your being there with your family and your prospects, your service, your connections, maybe family in your area. And how is it that we've ended up here in this place? I would suggest that it's by providence. You're where you are. You're not there by accident in the here where you are. Now, you may be passing through Chattanooga, driving on a fine federal highway or a state highway through our city at the crook in the river, and the here that you identify with has the same dynamic as the one that a listener who is from Chattanooga would understand to be operative in Chattanooga. Our show is again about local economy and the free market, and we are the Hot News Talk station, hotnewstalkradio.com online. If you go to TuneIn, you can hear our fine programming, libertarian, conservative-oriented programming, anywhere that you might be happening to go beyond the signal of our AM towers. We have right now a couple AM towers that disperse our free media that doesn't cost you anything and is offered as a public service. We are chartered by the Federal Communications Commission and have a license for a tiny sliver of the airwave bandwidth for your benefit. We care about the public interest, not so much the state interest, because as I'm coming to see in my drive to bring blue sky back to Chattanooga, there is a difference between a state interest, even a compelling state interest, and the public interest. The public is a reference to the common man, the ordinary person who is the one who is represented, say, by a senator or by a state representative or a congressman. Chuck Fleischman represents people, and those people are the public, the common man, the private man even, though I use the word private advisedly, since we all, I think in our day of commercial government, have all been converted into biped corporations. We're all walking corporations. And there are very few people who are just genuinely flesh and blood apart from their avatars, their corporate persona, which to which has been added lately the digital persona, the digital avatar. And that is, the digital avatar is half of what the identity thief seizes upon when he steals your identity. The other half of what he gets is the legal corporation that represents you and is the interface between you and government. So thank you for joining me here. The name is David Toulis again, and we are at 910 in South Pittsburgh, the great AM 910 in South Pittsburgh, and 1240 in Chattanooga. If you want to hear us on TuneIn, I should have mentioned, you just type in WSDT. SW is whatever that is for it, the upside down M, and SDT is Saudi Daisy, Tennessee. That is our tower location. That is where we are from. We're brought to you by Capital Toyota. There's a Prius special going on this month for $2,000, $25 gift card for Target if you are a man who wants to do a test drive. Just mention that you are coming in for a test drive. Call the number, the 888-404-9970 number, and get Capital on your calendar. Sweetheart deal. You do a test drive, get that nice card for a gift for your sweetheart. We've got a lot to get to today, and there's a kind of unanimous opinion in the Sunday edition of the paper, and I just wanted to mention a little bit about that because I have the idea that local economy shares some important elements with the arrival of the digital age. He's not on until the half. Okay. Just give him a chair. Give him a chair.
Keep going. Sit here if you'd like.
The digital economy, which is bringing about decentralization of the marketplace, is something that I want to get to today because we have the old idea reflected in the editorial pages of the newspaper, the old idea of how things are reformed, how things are fixed, how cartels, central systems, sort of mechanical, factory-oriented systems such as public schools, how they are to be improved, how they are to serve their customers better. Both Pam Sohn, who writes for the Times side of the paper, and Clint Cooper, who writes for the Free Press side, the old conservative page, talk in the Sunday edition about improving public education. Pam Sohn says, finally the missing piece to improve public education. And Clint Cooper says, unified to seek more unity in public school community. A little bit of a rhyme there to delight the Sunday afternoon leisure reader of the newspaper. But in effect, we have the idea that reforms and improvements can be brought about in a factory system, which is a kind of a human factory. The output are people who go through a grid of teaching and programming that has an end. I would say an end that is deleterious to their futures. But the hopeful students, the brightest students, even they can get through the machine without too much damage. But the common student, the people like me, right, the common man, or the people like my children. I have 4 children. They're all very average, though with their own labor and their own work, they have found niches that are prosperous and are an avenue for them in which to yield how shall I say it, to exercise their gifts from God, right? But and they happen to avoid schools for most of their lives as students. But the left-hand page that Pam Sohn wrote the editorial for really says she writes about schools as if they are subject to change. Well, I would like to think that because they are dysfunctional by design, they can't deliver the stated goal because there's a secret agenda in public education here in Chattanooga, Hamilton County, even in Marion County. Though the teachers are your friends and neighbors, the system itself, which they humanize with their faces, with their distinct manner, their distinct style of dress, their habits, their customs, their reputations. They humanize a machine that is designed to create a certain kind of person. You might, if we were in the Soviet Union, we would call them the new model man, but we're not in the Soviet Union. We are in the Union of 50 states. And we have these systems that are not intended to create intelligent students who can think independently and operate independently. This is not what their purpose is. The story that was, I think, in maybe Saturday's paper and the editorials both cover the creation of a group that's called Unify Ed. And let's see, what that is one of these modern words that has a capital letter in the middle of it. And it's an organization it's a new advocacy organization, according to Clint Cooper. And he says in his lead, if it succeeds in making Chattanoogans more aware of and more involved in their public schools, it will have done a great service. That's what Unified organizers, a group of civic, business, and community leaders, with the backing of the Benwood, Footprint, and McClellan Foundations, say they want to do. He says, they're not pushing a curriculum or a platform and are nobody's mouthpiece, said Executive Director Elizabeth Cruz, the Deputy Director of LaQuisha, and Deputy Director LaQuisha Ewing. Instead, they said the bipartisan nonprofit organization is intended to create transparency, accountability, effectiveness, and engagement in the schools. And what's happening here is we have another organization. There are so many organizations already that exist to prop up a failing structure, a structure that's intended to fail, but which is presented to the people who pay for it, nominally pay for it, which is to say the county taxpayers, with something that is a benefit, right? And that's schooling. Your children can learn how to read, they can learn how to write, they can take classes in civics, they can take algebra. The higher students can take calculus maybe in the last year. And Pam Son in her piece gives about a third of her, well, maybe about a fifth of her essay to naming some of the board members, and we're all civic-minded people. Jack Murrah is mentioned, David Eichenthal, the former CEO of the Ox Center for Metropolitan Studies, and others. And somehow there's the idea that we just need to have more advocacy. We need to have business people, small business owners maybe like you, or entrepreneurs like you, get involved in the government system, because there are people there and those people need your help. That's a very difficult, it's a very I don't know, a very bold and somewhat audacious request that the people of Chattanooga and Hamilton County, who've been paying for these systems for decades already, systems that are designed to make people like each other, not as in appreciate each other, but to resemble one another, to have the same set of ideas in the behavioral science context, brought into the custom of thought of every person. And I think, well, if you read about the failings of government school, you really need to understand that they are its success, because people can't read and they can't cipher, they can't think independently because they think together. We think these are failings, but they are in fact the success of public school. Let's see which the Clint Cooper in the Free Press version of this favor for the lobby. He says, those are reasonable steps to consider, especially if they promote a larger public voice in school policy and procedure. So notice there's an interest that there be more public voice, that more people who have opinions about public school, let's say you, can have your voice heard. And that somehow, if you think your voice is heard about how this system is run, that you will be glad to pay, and that you will give time and money and extra money and donations and give things in kind to the company that is the largest employer in Chattanooga, the public school system. He says, although Cruz and Ewing said they plan to hire a team, at least one per school board district, of education engagement coordinators to recruit neighborhood level groups of volunteers, they're not waiting until every T is crossed and every I is dotted to become active. This organization, Unify Ed, wants to increase participation in a system. Well, we've got to understand that public education is an old idea. It is an idea of the nation state. It is the idea that government is there to make people alike so that they are better managed. The newspaper Telegraph in England had a very important piece that came out on the 9th of June by Matthew Sparks, who is the deputy head of technology for this newspaper. It's a long printout this morning. I said, boy, this is a long piece regarding the coming of what it calls digital anarchy. And you have to understand that anarchy in the free market sense isn't necessarily isn't necessarily an endorsement of lawlessness or antinomianism, which is the idea of being against law. Antinomianism is a problem that has afflicted Christianity in particular, where many Christians think that somehow if you make a reference to God's laws, that you are somehow a legalist, that you think somehow a man is saved by keeping God's law, which no one, of course, can do. But antinomianism and anarchy are somewhat alike, though exercised in different areas. But the idea of a digital anarchy coming is important, I think, in the sense of men's systems, men's institutions, and the American economy, especially as we create it here in Chattanooga. We here in Chattanooga and in South Pittsburgh, we create an economy. We are not just the subject of a national economy, but we create it. And that is one of the theories of our show, that you, my listener, need to be part of the economy. And that doesn't mean just being employed, okay? That's not enough. Employment is not profitable. Employment simply gives a man his wages, which is exactly what he's worth. Profit is something beyond something beyond just payment for time and energy and labor and skill. Profit is where a city finds its sustenance. Profit is where a family finds its sustenance. Though certainly a family can be well equipped and happy and sound in its finances with only wage earners at the head. I'm not saying that that's not possible. But profit is something beyond that. Profit is what is capital. Okay, profit is what you pass to your heirs. And profit is how cities create other businesses and other centers of profit. And that's where size comes, that's where scale comes in population, when profit is possible. And of course, the enemy of profit is the cartel, the government cartel, inefficiencies which are created by false signals created in the marketplace to mislead people, unintentionally perhaps, again, by government. That would be the central bank's suppression of the interest rate and the false signal that cheap credit gives. And so the marketplace is something we have to understand it touches education as well. And the digital anarchy that Matthew Sparks writes about is coming, and it's threatening, as he, in a very sweeping analysis, says will destroy all these existing institutions which are cartel oriented. They're based on force. They are funded by compulsion. And the free market argument against compulsion is that it raises costs for everyone. It denies the least capable of a real access to the market. It is oppressive of the liberty of thought. You might say it's oppressive of free thought, though as a Presbyterian deacon, I'm not too enamored with the idea of free thought. All thought has to be subject, I would say, to God, but still, the idea of the independent individual, thinking on his own through problems or into a situation, that is what's not allowed in the school. The idea of the school, of course, is from biology, from the fish, the world, the aquatic life of the fish with his companions, all doing the same thing, and all rapidly spinning fins and tails in the same speed and direction to all go the same way. And the digital anarchy that's ahead is going to help you, the small entrepreneur, the small businessman. And I hope we can look a little bit into that in a minute. With how can you learn? What are ways that you can learn how to become your own small businessman, and what are things that you look for ahead of where you are now? Because in my understanding, you have an embryonic idea for a small business based on what you know in your experience in your field, and you need to find a way to capitalize upon that. And I would suggest that you do that because Chattanooga and South Pittsburgh, Marion County, Hamilton County, face a cataclysm. There's a cataclysm ahead that arises from the overuse of force in the national economy by government, by allies of government, by the elites, who will not be able to control their system much longer. They seem to be at the acme of their affairs, at the highest point. And their solution, of course, is always centralization and more government intervention. Never we need to withdraw from this area of life over which we have taken control over the years. They're not going to do that, and so we have grave shocks ahead. And because we have grave shocks, you need to be starting your own business and or expanding the business you have now and improving what you're doing, And I want to give some suggestions to you about that in a minute. But think of contacts I've mentioned to you. I want to mention Bruce Krebs, who runs Entrepreneur Source. If you think you might want to go into an enterprise that is a franchise, Bruce Krebs is the man to call. His number is 875-5621, 875-5621. And he's the one who will give you the plan B. Now, it may not be a franchise, and he can help you there too, but he's the franchise specialist in Chattanooga. Well, this is David Toulis. My show and is Nuganomics.com. Thank you for giving me a couple of minutes of your time. Now here's something I want you to hear.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga
Hello.
in the
Good to see you
world.
again. All right.
The right to keep and bear arms.
Okay, I think we're good.
The Second Amendment with an
Thank you.
AR or AK in self and home defense, in personal safety. Firearms Plus.
You need to get you over here. We'll be kind of shoulder to shoulder. All right, perfect. This camera right on.
$20. Firearms Plus, where you can buy, sell, and
Let's
trade.
move this
And
here
for
so
the
you
woman in
are
life,
not
Firearms
blocked
Plus
by
has
the mic
perfect
too
mix.
much. Okay.
Firearms Plus has the perfect gun for me.
Firearms Plus, a new gun shop in Hickson.
Yeah,
On Mill Valley Road. Just a stone's
Notice you
throw
want to
from
stay.
Signal.
Yeah, you want to stay
Firearms
right
Plus.
here. Get in. You want to be on the right of the mic, but you want to talk into even when we look at each other, which is we're having a personal interview, so we can relate. Make sure your mouth stays close to the mic.
Just
okay?
like this, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So. Okay.
Test drive a new Toyota and get a $25 Target gift card to buy a treat for your sweetheart. Capital Toyota's lot is glittering with rows of new cars, trucks, and SUVs. Come in and take a spin and enjoy a complimentary $25 card from Target. Call
I was not really happy with that.
888-404-9970 to get us on your calendar. Capital Toyota.
So
Free
what?
car wash with any service.
Talk radio is often just all extemporaneous, so
Call 888-404-9970.
I have a general sense of where I want to go with that thing about the two editorials. I had hardly any time to get, I didn't even have time to quote this. This is really, there's a lot in there about Bitcoin and the demolition of the banking sector. You see, local economy is a concept. I'm trying to fit it into this digital anarchism scenario because it really is part of it. As the internet becomes more pervasive, you might think that local economy is just disappeared. No, it becomes actually more intense.
Ducts,
And it can
indoor
become more
professionals that are known as duct busters, cleans HVAC systems using
if you can find a way of working that into what you have to say, that'd be interesting because
Mark Thompson addressed the indoor air quality at your
the web is delocalizing, right?
Prevent fires.
It denatures
Your dryer.
locale.
Mark and his
Yeah,
parents,
except
Dick and
they're
Joe
now
Thompson,
arguing
rebuilding
to
our local economy
stop
and helping
that.
local people with
Have you heard
HVAC
about that?
systems.
What?
16 years.
They're wanting to, right now the internet's basically free. Like you can put up, your website is just as fast as Comcast.
Call
But they're now wanting to change that, where companies pay for speed.
Well, if they use more bandwidth, they should pay for it.
Well, but what that means though is that your website, they would not be as fast as theirs. So even though they pay more, who are they paying?
I help them
Who are
find
they
the best way
paying?
to finance the business, including paying themselves through the
The
site.
FCC.
If
The
you're just
FCC.
curious to understand
Anyway, so
the
it goes
types
back
of
to the
businesses
government.
that may be
So
right for
basically,
you,
they're
please
saying,
call
well,
me
we
for a
want to
free
do this to
assessment.
kind of
My
protect
phone
the,
number is
so that we have more reputable things
423-875-5621.
online. It's another tax, is all it
You
is.
give us 12
It's a
minutes
creative
and 40
tax
seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga
to basically shut down the little guy.
News Talk 1240.
So that's how you see that. I really
But I haven't looked at it a lot.
I hadn't come to a clear
No, one thing,
analysis.
I have a basic distrust of anything the government says they think is a good idea. Hey, we got a really great idea. It's going to help everybody. Okay.
NASCAR, Laura Ingram, Dennis Miller, David Toulis, Generation Z, Coast to Coast AM, and CBS Radio News. Chattanooga's news, talk, and sports leader.
Where's my letter? Is that mine? No,
This is
that's
mine.
yours.
Secretary of State John Kerry says the U.S. hasn't ruled out possible military cooperation with Iran to help stop militant.
Okay, so my goal is we'll have about 26 minutes.
Okay.
You give my listener
Would it make the
what
difference or gonna
you know,
make the difference
what he
right
needs
now?
to know.
Courtesy of
You're the
Judge
expert here.
Hughes,
You're
the Supreme
this
Court
is-
upholding the conviction of
but
the
I want you to
so-called
also
straw
say,
gun buyer.
if you're a listener, we have one listener. If he has a question for me and wants to call me, here's my number, and here's my website. I can make sure you do that. Just do it a couple times. Okay. And then we'll probably go over the top of the hour. We'll go to the top of the hour, and then we'll have a little more on the other side. And there too, especially if we sign off, say, well, I'll thank you. I'll thank you. Say, well, thank you. Nice talking to the listener. And my name is so-and-so, and here's my name and number. Then you're then you're free to go.
It's
I won't be able to say
David
goodbye.
Toulis.
David Toulis here. Our show is Nuganomics.com, and we are at the Hot News Talk radio station in South Pittsburgh at 910, and in Chattanooga at 1240. We are the all-talk station. We have a no-nonsense agenda to every day have you, the listener, be edified and informed about the world at large from a perspective which we think is more insightful than really any other, and that is that the marketplace is right and that the rule of law is right, and you need to be busy with your life here in Chattanooga and in South Pittsburgh. Remember, Capital Toyota is going to offer you a free gift card for Target if you do a test drive. If you need any kind of service, you get a free car wash at Capital Toyota over on the highway by the airport. The number to call is 888-404-9970. There's a $2,000 rebate this month on the Prius, a car for very special people. And make sure that you go by Capital and support your local car lot, Capital Toyota. It's a big place, glistening with innumerable new cars and pre-owned cars as well. If you are facing a death in your family, or you have an aged relative who's about to pass on into the next life, you want to think in terms of local economy. And one way of doing that is saying, well, who can provide me with the services I need dealing with a death, casket, and a place to meet all this person's friends and have a comfortable facility for that. Consider Hamilton Funeral Home here in Hickson, locally owned, locally operated. Call Josh Jennings at 531-3975. That's 531-3975. Locally owned Hamilton Funeral Home. Well, if my suggestion is that you, the listener, need to get going with business, and you need to think lococentrically, how do we? What can I do beyond giving the general perspective of the need for service and the need to get out from plain old employment? The employment sector is shattering, as many other things are. And 40 years from now, probably half the people only will be employed, and the rest will be working by contract. They'll be working in person, or they'll be working online. And the old system of employment, which the government has always favored because it desires to have surveillance over transactions for work, for wages, that it wants to control that and to be able to tax that. That's all shifting into the private sector, if you will, and even the gray market. But let's just say it's shifting into the world of contract, not employment. In employment, you are subject to your master or your employer. When you are a contractor or an entrepreneur, you are your own boss. So to find out a little bit more of how to negotiate business, whether it's small business or larger business, I have here Josh McGinnis, who runs UnlockYourBiz.com. UnlockYourBiz.com is your portal to this man who has long been in the people business. He was a gospel minister for 10 years, and for the past 5 years he has been a business coach, using all of his gifts, dealing with people and having people understand each other, to help men and women in business to do better. Welcome to Nuganomics.com, Josh.
Thanks, David. I appreciate it. Good to be here.
Well, tell us now. Tell us how we met. Tell my listener how we met. It was at Nature's Finest,
Yeah.
a little shop. What's that? Tell us about that shop and what you were doing when we encountered each other.
Well, actually, it was Jim Hangsteffer. He owns the shop. You know him. And Jim and Pat, they're some clients of mine. And their business has grown, on average, 20% for the last 3 years in a row, which that means it's getting close to doubling now. And they've done it because we've just focused in on the best activities for them. You know, their business had been kind of flat for a long time. And the economy definitely affected them, like the economy, affected a lot of people. But they're able to turn that around because we focused on the key strategies that resulted in the best kind of bang for their buck, so to speak.
What was one of them?
It's the simple things that work so well. Okay, one of them was Jim just getting on the phone and calling up customers and saying, hey, how's your health? How's the products that you got from us? And what's amazing is, even though most people never pick up the phone, a good portion of those people actually come in within 2 to 3 weeks after that phone call. One of the problems that a lot of people have in their business is repeat purchases. And so for them, we were really wanting to focus on those repeat purchases, getting the customers to come back. Because he has a product that once people get healthy, they tend to forget how they felt when they were not healthy. And they have that slow downward trend into that dishealth. And so those simple phone calls get them back in the door.
And so that shop is on Lehigh Way. It's run by Jim and Pat Hangsteffer, and I'm a customer there. I buy quite a few supplements from that couple.
Me too.
So the reason that he is doing better is because he said, "Aha! I've got to have a personal connection with my customer." And so simply a call to ask how's your health, and can you detect improvements in your health from what you purchased from me.
It's just following up. It's a personal touch. In business, it's about a relationship. And that's what a lot of companies and a lot of business owners forget, is that you have to build that relationship with the people that you're servicing. And so as Jim focused on those relationships, people responded, and they remember to come back in.
Does my listener have to make a hard pitch at the end of a phone call like that, or is that not necessary?
Well, you know Jim, don't you? There is no hard pitch in Jim whatsoever. It's not a hard pitch, in fact. David, I would say that the pitch is not in a push. The quote unquote pitch really is, I care about you and I want to make sure you're doing well with my product or my service.
Well, let me ask you this. How is it that a businessman like Jim Hangsteffer had not thought of making that simple step that you proposed? Why is it that, is he just so busy? Is he so busy thinking about the new customers that he hopes to get, and maybe a little advertising campaign, again, for new customers, that he just doesn't think he has time for it? Or how come it doesn't come on the radar to maintain that kind of contact?
There's a lot of answers there, and you're hitting on a number of them. That part of it is you get kind of trapped and you can't, you can't see the forest through the trees, that line. But the other part of it is, my whole career, my job is to provide the education, the training, and the concepts and the strategies and all that other kind of stuff to someone like Jim. And so I bring those answers to him. And a lot of times what happens with business owners is they get trapped in this sense of urgency. They're only focused on what's right in front of them. And so they don't think about these other ideas.
Well, give an example of what could be right in front of a business owner that really is not essential, but it's pressing, but it's not.
Oh man, okay.
What are some?
I'll give you an example with Rachel. We had talked about Rachel as an example. Rachel came to me, and she had about 4 months left before she was going to lose her business. Things were bad, real bad for her. She was losing about $8,000 a month, and in 6 weeks. We turned it from an $8,000 loss to a $12,000 profit, and she was able to save her business. And she was able to then sell her business and focus on some other priorities that she had. And so the big question is, how in the world do we do it, right? Well, I asked Rachel, I said, what's your biggest problem? And she said, Josh, my biggest problem is I need more leads. I need more people coming through the door so that I can sell them my services. And I said, okay. We looked at the math, and I said, well, what's your conversion rate on those sales?
All right, define conversion rate.
Conversion rate, great question, thanks by the way. Conversion rate is the percentage of people that come in and the people that buy. So for easy math, if 10 people come in and 5 people buy, you have a 50% conversion rate. If 10 people come in and 2 people buy, you have a 20% conversion rate. So I asked her, and she said, Josh, we do great. We probably have somewhere between 70 and 80% conversion rate. Now,
Something happened. popped.
I heard it pop. Of course,
Yeah.
I have no clue what any of this is.
Yeah, I
So-
heard it too through my earpiece. That's on, that's on, that's on. I'll turn it off. Hey Russell, Mr. Toulis here. We just had a pop. I unplugged the plug. Sab is not reachable. I hit. Go ahead. Yes, I do. I pushed them all. Yeah. On microphone and mic 2, I've got I pushed the red and green buttons, PGM and odd on both of those, which I've done in the past. And I've got the mics on. David Toulis, still nothing. Okay. Let me try to call Sab again. Thanks. Thank you. Bye. Toulis. Hello? I know. Okay, we unplugged the button, we unplugged the plug, put it back in. I'm over here on the board. I pushed, the mics are on. I pushed PGM and AUD on my mic and Josh McGinnis's mic. Then I pushed the, over on the on-air PC, I hit the program button that has the tape on it. And then I also pushed the red button, PGM, over on the right side of the board that has the tape on it. Yeah, the light is on. Yeah. This is David Toulis. Okay, well, do I just need to unplug it again? 10 seconds? All right. He was overloading it? Okay. All right. One of the mics was overloading.
I was overloading it?
You were overloading the mic.
Was I doing something?
No.
Okay.
I'm just talking. I should have. It was something I was supposed to be doing that I didn't know. We're talking with Josh McGinnis, who runs unlockyourbiz.com, which is the website of his service, in which he provides, you might say, coaching to people like you, my listener, the man who's starting a business or who is thinking of starting a business. And it might be perhaps premature to engage Josh McGinnis right now if you're just starting out, but at some point you are going to need to have a coach. Josh, welcome to Nuganomics.com.
Thanks, David.
Who are some notable business figures who have said things about business coaches?
Well, I think everybody's probably heard of Bill Gates. And Bill Gates was recently filmed on camera when someone asked him, what's the best advice you have for business owners? And he said the single best advice I could give a business owner, whether you're new or established, is this: hire a business coach. And he talked about the value of coaching, how that outside perspective allows you to make better decisions, faster decisions, fewer mistakes. And as far as people in my career, we loved hearing that.
Well, how did you become a business coach? Explain the transition from being a gospel minister to a businessman helper.
Yeah. Well, I was a pastor for 10 years. And as a pastor, I worked with families in every situation imaginable, every kind of bad situation and good situation. And there came a point where it was just time for me to move on. And so then it's like, well, what am I going to do? Well, I got a degree in counseling and I realized I didn't like working with the clinical population, but I really liked this thing called life coaching. So I started doing life coaching. But the problem I ran into, David, was my clients were only staying with me for about maybe 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks, because I learned how to very quickly get people results, very quickly. And so people would be in counseling for years and years and years, and in 6 weeks, boom, we're done. Well, that's great for them. It's actually not great for me because I couldn't keep the clients coming in fast enough. And along the way, I picked up a business owner as a client. And I realized this is really the gold mine for me, because business owners, their problems never end. As soon as you solve one problem in a business, by default, you create a new problem. And this gentleman, he loved paying me, kept paying me forever, never would even think about getting rid of me because of the value there. And so then it became this thought, aha.
Well, over the years, you say he was your customer for
Yeah.
some years. What kind of things did you do for him in the way of advice? What problem areas did you work on?
Well, for him starting out, it was very much focused more on kind of life coaching in his business. And what I mean by that is we focused on, you know, his productivity, his mindset, his attitude or mood, his, you know, key activity levels, like, hey, are you doing what you should be doing? But I didn't really have at that time, David, any key ways to really improve his marketing or his sales or financials or anything like that.
So really, you were just dealing with the man, the person, the man.
Very much
but
so.
As you progressed as a business coach, you studied these other things such as marketing. So how does a business coach help a man like my listener in marketing? What's the connection between coaching and marketing?
Well, one of the big mistakes that a lot of business owners make is they think that marketing is branding, and marketing is not branding, branding is not marketing. And what I mean is branding is what Coca-Cola does, and people love to use Coca-Cola and say, listen, these people spend $1 billion a year, so you should too, if you could. Well, that's actually not true. For most small businesses, they can't afford to do branding. They have to do marketing that actually results in people calling or coming in their door immediately. So if they spend $10,000, they had better make sales that can pay for that $10,000 immediately.
So branding is not marketing. In what way? How is branding? Why is branding more passive or more long term?
Branding is more like, hey, we exist. And so Coca-Cola can afford to do that. Hey, we exist. Hey, we exist. Hey, we exist. You're in the gas station. You think, I want to get something to drink. I'm going to think of a Coke. Whereas if you're selling a service like if you're an ophthalmologist, you know, you can't afford to do branding for a year to establish your brand. You don't even have the funds to really do it either. And so when you do an ad, you have to have people call you at the end of that ad. If you don't, you can't afford to keep doing the ads.
Well, where should a young business spend its time and energy in creating relationships with customers? How is that? Are there some general principles here?
Well, first you have to understand who your customers are. And David, just like you were talking to me earlier, when I was getting ready to come on the show, you said, Josh, remember, I have one listener out there. That one listener, right there, it's you. You're it. And you described that listener. You told me how old they were. You told me their education level. You told me their political interests. You told me all about that one listener. Businesses need to do the same. Until you have a name associated with who you're marketing to, you will not have effective marketing.
Well, we hear a lot about social media. Is social media, let's say a Facebook page, is that marketing that works? Jim Hangstifer, for example, who runs Nature's Finest, the little health food store or the little supplement shop, he's on Facebook. Does that help a business like his, a shop or a little enterprise?
It depends. It depends. I mean, you're asking a very broad question about social media. Social media does best for people that have a very broad range of appeal. So if you're marketing a product or a service to the United States, social media can help tremendously. If you're marketing it only to Chattanooga, it becomes much more difficult. And I'm speaking only from an advertising perspective. Like Facebook allows you to advertise, and you can, here's the truth, if the general public knew how much information Facebook had on them, they would not be using Facebook. Because Facebook allows you to micro-target based on what kind of car you drive. Now, how Facebook gathers all that information, I really don't understand. but I can market an ad only to people that drive BMWs in Chattanooga. That kind of scares me a little bit. But it's there, so I get my clients to use it. For Jim, what he can do with Facebook is he can do more branding that we just talked about, because he can do it basically free. He can slowly build up his clients or his interested users and kind of stay in front of them, and that becomes very effective over time. It takes time though, so it's a long-term strategy.
Is getting likes on Facebook worth anything?
No, there's not. Absolutely not. The way that likes work on Facebook is the people that like you are more likely to see your content. And so if you do it organically, meaning I like it and I share it and then you see it and you say I like that too, that is worthwhile. But what Facebook allows you to do is actually purchase likes. And they say they will only sell you likes from your area. That's a lie. I mean, there's been a lot of people who have tested this. They'll sell you likes from India. You don't need likes from India. You need people locally who like you.
Well, my listener is thinking of having a little business that it has to start locally because he's here in Chattanooga, he's here in South Pittsburgh. How does he use social media to his advantage? And how perhaps I should ask, do you help him do that?
If they're starting a business locally, definitely have a Facebook page. A Facebook page is probably more important than a website these days. And on that Facebook page, you want to target your customer and share with them relevant information that they want. And so if you're going after someone, if you're going after women who make decisions related to fashion and decor and other things like that because you sell furniture or flooring or something else along those lines, then what else are those women interested in? Share that information. If you make your Facebook or your social media all about you, they will tune you out and delete you.
Explain to my listener this very important distinction. What you put out can't be about you. It has to be about the customer. Can you explain in a nutshell how that works? How that's a very difficult concept in a way.
Yeah, here's my joke. I don't know how funny it is, okay? But when a client gives me an ad and they say, Josh, look over this, at the very top of the ad, they always put the very same thing on the top of all ads. It's their logo. And I tell them, I say, you know what, I hate to break it to you, there's only two people that care about your logo. It's you and your mother. And you're not making your mom buy your products. So it doesn't matter. Nobody cares about your name. What they care about is what's called What's in It For Me. It's WIIFM. It's like the radio station buyers are listening to. What's in it for me? And so you focus on what's in it for your customer, and by default, then they will come to you.
So it's a kind of active imagination, really.
You know, I would say no, it's not an active imagination because you can really narrow it down what they want. There's no guessing here. I know what drives them.
You're hearing Josh McGinnis. My name is David Toulis. You're joining us here at Nuganomics.com. Josh runs UnlockYourBiz.com. UnlockYourBiz.com. We're going to ask him a little bit more about some of his clients and their turnaround stories that have taken place in Chattanooga of small businesses that are foundering, or some people like to say floundering, but they're foundering. They're taking on water. There may be a gash in the hull. They're coming near the rocks. And so often a good friend can help. A friend from perhaps a Chamber of Commerce meeting, a man you meet might be able to advise you. But then also you can go to a professional advisor, and that will be in the line of business coach. And Josh McGinnis is a business coach who runs UnlockYourBiz.com and has been in this field for five years, a former minister. So he has a sense of people and personal interests, and extends that to people like you. The name again is David Toulis. Our show is Nuganomics.com. You're joining us here at Hot News Talk Radio. Online it's hotnewstalkradio.com. And if you have a smartphone, go to TuneIn and type in WSDT, which is our set of letters, our call letters, and you can hear us with fine hi-fi clarity wherever you might happen to be. Via your smartphone. Again, the name is David Toulis, and we are exploring local economy and the free market. Well, we'll just keep going. I'm not sure what happened, but we are exploring local economy in the free market, and we've been pushing buttons this morning and trying to maintain our uninterrupted power supply to you, our listener. Josh McGinnis, tell me about another of your customers and how you came to meet this person and how you've heard about this person's problems and what you did for that local business, please.
You bet. So one of my first clients was a lady by the name of Rachel, and Rachel came when her business was experiencing an $8,000 a month loss, and with only about 4 months left, she said, "Josh, I'm going to go bankrupt in 4 months. You know, how can I even afford to pay you? I'm losing $8,000." I said, "Well, easily. You're going to go bankrupt in 4 months. Pay me, and you're going to make it 3 months. What's the big deal?" And she kind of chuckled, and she said, "Okay, why not?" You know, and within 6 weeks, David, we took her from an $8,000 loss to a $12,000 gain monthly, and saved her business.
Well, when you mentioned her before, you didn't say exactly how it was she had misperceived her problem. Can you explain what the answer is to her dilemma?
Yeah. So she thought her conversion rate, which was the rate at which leads were coming in and converting to an actual sale, was in the 70 to 80% range, when in reality it was in the low 20s. And so we worked on that, and within 6 weeks actually got it up to 77%.
And the problem is she had a sales staff.
Mm-hmm.
Can you get into that a little bit?
So when she first came to me, she said, "Josh, it's horrible. I'm sick to my stomach. It's only like 21%. I said, "That's awesome." I gave her a high five, and she was confused. And I said, "Because, Rachel, I'm excited because we can improve 21%. What could we do with 80? You can't do anything."
Tools. What? Keep going.
Anyway, and so come to find out, she had 4 salespeople. One of them was converting at 0%. One of them was converting at around 18%. One of them was converting around 40%, and she had one salesperson converting in the mid-70s. And so, no brainer. I go, let's kind of fire the 3 and let the one person who's converting in the mid-70s do only sales, because she didn't have one exclusive salesperson. She had 4 people doing sales with other activities, and we now had one salesperson who was doing all the closing. That allowed her to go from a loss to a profit almost immediately, and it saved her business. Let me give you another example, David. I had a client who came to me with the restaurant business, and their restaurant business was seasonality, meaning that during the summer they did well, during the winter they did bad. Yes, it was kind of frozen in nature, and they came to me and they said, "Josh, our summer was not as good as we want it to be. We don't have enough cash reserves to make it through the winter. If we don't do something, our business will close before the summer ever comes around again." And I went in there and we figured out what to do to bring them a large amount of new customers that were extremely loyal. In fact, David, their winter months outperformed their summer months. And then everybody's going, "Well, okay, Josh, how in the world did you do it?" We did it through fundraisers. You know, being a pastor, I understand that, you know, the nature of churches and other groups and like little leagues and all that kind of stuff. And so I said, let's do a fundraiser. We went to a church and we said, "You guys are raising money for a winter retreat. Here's a card, and when your people come in for the next 6 weeks, they present the card. We will give the church half of the profit." The key there was profit from each sale. And so for 6 weeks, their sales were huge. And then at the end of 6 weeks, when they stopped the promotion, guess what these people kept doing? They kept coming back and they kept buying. And so we started with one group, and then we did it with a soccer group and a softball group and a baseball group, and it just kept going on, in bands and football. And they always had a group that was doing a promotional, coming in, buying that stuff. And the best part, David, was when the promotion was over, the people had developed a habit of coming in, so they kept coming in. And that's how we turned their business around.
This is David Toulis. You're hearing Josh McGinnis, who runs UnlockYourBiz.com. He is a Chattanooga business coach, and wherever you might be in the progress of having a business, finding your public, serving your fellow man, you might have questions that a man with perspective, such as Josh, can help you with. Is there anything special about manufacturing? Manufacturing is quite different from retail. Josh, tell us about tell us a business story from the manufacturing side.
Well, here's the thing, David. 80% of business is all the same. It's that Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule.
And what is that?
Well, it's the 80-20 rule, saying that 80% is the same, 20% is different. So in manufacturing, the difference between manufacturing and retail and a service-based industry, 80% of all of those three are the same. The 20% is the difference. And so in a manufacturing business, you think, well, it's all about manufacturing product, which I'm not an engineer, so I can't do anything there. But what do they have to do with the product they manufacture? They have to sell it. And so this manufacturing company has, about over 2,000 customers, and they said, Josh, could you create something to kind of help us increase our sales with our customers? So we created a pilot program, we tested it, and in that pilot program, those customers outperformed the average by 300%. And we're able to take those sales and grow them significantly through that program. And now we're looking at, broadening that and enlarging it and making it even more. I mean, the bottom line, David, is what I try to do with Unlock Your Biz is go into a business.
We know that they're not using state-of-the-art techniques to protect this data.
Okay.
Now the question is why?
All right, so now we've got, what are we doing now, sir? Where are we now?
The ransom demand.
This is the news. Okay, we're in the news.
That's 30,000 euros. Baseball Hall of Famer Tommy Gwynn has died.
I mean, I knew I could be successful.
Well, okay, all right. All right, David Toulis here. We're talking with Josh McGinnis, a business coach. Go ahead.
No problem, David. And so what I do with Unlock Your Biz is I go in and I kind of start pushing around in a business. And I'm looking for that sensitive spot. And that's the place where we can leverage the business to make massive growth. And oftentimes it just requires that person who doesn't have the assumptions that the business owner has. And I go in and I say, well, does this work? And they go, no, that doesn't work. Well, when was the last time you tried it? I go, well, I tried that 30 years ago. It just doesn't work. Well, David, has the economy changed in 30 years? Has the mindset of consumers changed? Has some technology changed? A lot of things have changed. So I go, well, maybe we should try it again. And by the way, when you tried it, how did you try it? And it's just adjusting those things so that it allows them to be successful. I do have a really good story about that. So I asked a client, as a veterinarian, I said, let's sell microchips. It's a great service. Actually, if all Americans microchip their pets, we could reduce euthanized pets by something like 80%. Huge, huge.
Well, how's that?
Because 1 out of 3 pets that are lost are not returned to the owner. And so this it's huge. And so I asked him, I said, well, did you promote microchipping? He said, I did, Josh, and nobody wanted to do it. I said, nobody. All week you had 250 opportunities and no one did it. He said, well, I had 3 people that did it. I said, oh, okay. So you presented to 250 people and only 3 people did it. He said, well, no, I stopped on Monday. I said, why? Because everybody kept saying no. I said, well, so you did it all Monday? He said, well, no, I stopped after a few hours. I said, wait a second. A few hours you stopped? If he had kept doing it, David, he would have made about a $50,000 a year profit off of microchips from his customers. But he thought it didn't work because in his mind he tried it and he heard no a lot of times and he wasn't paying attention to all the yeses that he also heard. And so even though he says I tried it and it didn't work, once I showed him the numbers, he said, oh my goodness, I guess it does work.
So he really kind of gave you the wrong answer initially. He somewhat misled you when you said, how did you do it? He said, yeah, I tried it, and he didn't. This is David Toulis. We'll be right back.
Coast AM and CBS Radio News. Chattanooga's news, talk, and sports.
You're a trooper, Josh. I'm sorry we've had...
Oh, no problem. I'm doing my best to kind of try to figure out what you want me to do.
Now, here we are again.
From Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nuganomics with David
We have
Toulis.
about 15 minutes, okay? We're just trying to finish up.
No problem.
So we need to get to what else, because we've had no break.
What else do we need to get to?
You're talking about the veterinarian. We'll continue talking about it.
Oh, I can talk about another vet, or I can talk about somebody else.
This is David Toulis. Our show is Nuganomics.com. The theory is that small is better than big, that near is better than far, that simple is better than complex, and that personal is better than corporate. And another one that I've been mulling over is that possibly physical is better than abstract. That's not always true, because we've been saying how the internet is going to destroy this very physical, beastly concept of the public school, which I guess is an idea that has turned into a machine that has gotten away from us. But the idea of local economy is the personal economy and personal economics. And one idea that I have is for you, my listener, to get advice from people such as Josh McGinnis, the business coach, who deals with a lot of small entrepreneurs, factory owners, merchants, veterinarians we were just hearing about. And our idea is love your neighbor, buy local. And if we do that, we can fundamentally, we can't defeat national economy. I don't think we would want to do that, but we can somehow get a more self-conscious sense of our role in commerce and our role in life here in Chattanooga and South Pittsburgh. We can say, I'm going to favor my local provider over the franchise even, or the national chain that has its big glitzy store, the big box store on my main thoroughfare. I'm going to drive right past that and favor the local provider. And because I am in fact trading. When I consider local economy, I'm not just a customer and a consumer. I'm a person who trades. And the idea of trading encompasses both sides of the transaction, not just the buying, which is you, but the selling. And you want to have a more holistic view, perhaps, of the economic life that we all live, because we're all buying and selling. We all use the medium of exchange, the paper dollar, and we do support Walmart when we go there. We're talking with Josh McGinnis, who has helped a good number of local businessmen and business people in faraway places even who have heard about it, to turn around their businesses, to rethink their procedures, to rethink their market, to rethink the people who are at the other end of the transactions that they are trying to generate, that is to say, their customers. Josh, being a business coach, really, you really have to emphasize to your clients that they have to think about the customer first. Why is it so hard for business people to remember the customer accurately? What comes between the businessman and his customer in perception?
A lot of times business owners think they know their customer, but they don't. And so what gets in the way, David, is an assumption. And that assumption really destroys them, because the biggest assumption that I hear from the most people is money. My customers really care about money. My customers really want a value. They're really looking for the best deal. And at first that sounds like it might be right, but all the research out there says it's wrong.
Explain that, please.
Well, if a customer stops buying from you, most people say, well, they got a better deal somewhere else. But the research actually indicates that 61% of the people that leave and go somewhere else, or maybe it was 67%, one of those two numbers, David, they leave because of what's called perceived indifference. Perceived indifference is when the customer perceives that you just no longer care about them. So they say, well, I'll go somewhere else where they do care about me. It's not about money. It's about that perceived indifference. So
if my listener, for example, has a part of his business that's sales, that is to say, relationship with the customer, he needs to have a relationship with that customer beyond the time when he goes by and gets the payment, right? He needs to.
Yes.
He needs to maybe. What could he do? Let's say he's in a business where he goes around and collects payments from his customers, maybe like a landlord. But
a landlord. Great. You use that one. So maybe what a landlord does is the landlord, when they go and collect payments, they leave with the home renter some information on what they can do seasonally that's fun around the Chattanooga area. That is maybe cheap or free. And that's just a way to say, hey, I care about you and your family, that you guys are renting from me. And so here's some ideas on what you can do in the next 2 months around Chattanooga so you as a family can have fun.
So that the renter sees the landlord at times other than just when he's there with his hand out to get his payment.
Well, you could do it either way. Yes, or you could say, hey, I'm here to get the payment, and by the way, here's this other thing. And so what you do is you kind of sweeten that transaction, so it's not just about I'm taking your money or you're paying for rent. That's, it's a fair trade, but it's still just a fair trade. And so now I give you something else that you didn't ask for, that you don't expect, And so it's like, wow, that's thoughtful. This guy actually really cares about me. I'm more than just, a check to him. And that is part of what creates that relationship.
Well, I've been most of my life in the news business and never had real contact with the customer, which is to say the reader. There's always we in the newsroom, we say we have a reader and we're doing this for the reader, and what does the reader want to know? And we have a concept of the person we're editing the paper for. In radio, I'm also an account executive, and one thing I've learned from my colleague here who is a long-time and successful radio entrepreneur is have a relationship with your advertiser. So, for example, in one business whose account I have, I try to go into the office every week just to chat, and I find they find me useful in other things. I'm a newspaper man, so here, look this flyer over. So I've gotten to just give free advice on flyers and design, and so I'm not there when I come to get paid for the advertisement. Just the man there who cares just about the money. I really care about them as people, and so making that routine visit of all my clients just to keep updated, and just, for example, to say, what is there something we need to do different about your spot? Yeah. That's the main reason I'm there. Is do we need to freshen your spot, or is there anything I need to know about your business that might help me calculate to make an improvement in what I do? So you're right. It's relationships. So give us another story, Josh McGinnis.
Well, speaking of relationships and understanding your customers, so I have a guy. His name's Jason. He owns a flooring store, good-sized flooring business, about $10 million a year in revenue. And he came to me and said, Josh, we want referral partners and we want real estate agents to refer to us, but they're not referring to us. And he couldn't figure it out. And I said, well, let's go back to what they really want. What's our button that we can really kind of push for them? And he was like, well, what if I give them a 10% referral, like commission, a fee on the sale? I said, well, you can't do that. You only make 20%. You're going to give half of your profit away. That's not possible. We can't do that. So that's an example of, right now, I'll get to what we finally did, but where the first thought business owners have is, let me reduce my fee, let me do something to cut that amount.
Because the answer is money.
The answer is money, and it's not. The answer is not money. In fact, with most of my clients, I get them to raise their fees. And they sell more.
Prices.
Right, raise their prices, exactly. And they actually sell more. So they actually get more revenue and more margin by raising their fees and doing a couple other things. So we go with Jason, and I say, okay, let's create something, an email. And we created an email that from a cold list got over a 30% response rate.
That's very, very high.
It's ridiculously high. It's like, don't ever ask me to repeat it. It's like the greatest success story ever. But what we did with it is we sent it out to realtors, and we had a number of hot buttons. One, we said, we have a pilot program. And so a pilot program is something that actually has a trigger with real estate agents, because they are, at the very heart, entrepreneurs. And so they want something new. They want something kind of fresh, something innovative. And then we limited it in time. It's only good till October. So you have to respond kind of quickly. Then we limited it in number. We're only going to take 20 people, the right agents. And then we offered them dealer pricing. Dealer pricing in flooring is what you offer builders. Builder pricing, not dealer pricing.
Why would a real estate agent care about that?
Because it makes them feel like they have this secret club that they're a part of now, and they get this builder pricing, and they can offer it to their friends and their customers and everybody else. And it's limited, so we're only going to take 20 agents, and because it's a pilot program, we're testing out, and we're going to end it in a few months. Well, I think it was 33% or 32% of the people that we sent an email to responded, and it was a cold list. And of those people, we started generating $10,500 in new sales a month, recurring.
All right, now explain that to the listener. These are real estate agents. They have been connected to a flooring business. They're not builders, right? Real estate agents are not builders. So, but how did the flooring business create more traffic, more sales through them?
We asked for referrals, because real estate agents are either selling or buying. And when they're selling homes, sometimes they need to replace the flooring to sell the home. Or they have people buying a home and they want to replace the flooring once they buy the home. We wanted their referrals.
So the real estate agent referred let's say the man selling the house to your customer, your client, the man who runs the flooring business, and the real estate agent has something very gracious to give that customer, that seller.
And so what it was is in order to get it, all the real estate agent had to do is tell the customer and say, hey, Susie, go over to this flooring store, mention my name. All you have to do is mention my name, and they're going to give you builder pricing on the flooring. And see, there's a sense of kind of pride with there. We kind of just treated them like they were special, and they are special to us. They're special to the tune of, $10,500 in increased sales right off the bat a month.
Well, this is why you, my listener, need to think about a business coach, and you need to think about what other people want and what other people need, and to frame your approach to your market in terms of those things. And I'm not saying anything new, I realize that. We've been hearing Josh McGinnis. Josh, is there anything else you wanted to mention to my listener that might be of special value right now?
Well, I would love a chance to just speak to you if you have a business and you're looking at really growing your business. Over the past 5 years, David, my clients have increased their revenue by over $175 million. And that's been in the worst economy that I've known in my lifetime, definitely. And the way we did that is we looked at where there were holes or gaps in their business, and we started to fill those in. And so if you would like to kind of consider that in your business, I'd like a chance to talk to you. You can go to my website, unlockyourbiz.com. You can give me a call. I have a 1-800 number. It's 1-800-528-5055.
Josh McGinnis, thank you for joining my listener and me here at Nuganomics.com.
You bet, David. Thank you.
You've been hearing Josh McGinnis, who runs UnlockYourBiz.com. He's a business coach, and he is all about finding you might say, the soul in business relationships, in the transaction between the seller of a service or a good and the customer. These are about one person understanding the other person. The seller, that would be you perhaps, the man who runs the business, understanding what makes a customer come to you. And he was explaining that it's not just price. It's often, according to business research, often nothing to do with the price of your goods. And so if a customer in your business is not coming back, it's not because you're charging too much, or it's not because he found necessarily a better price elsewhere. It has to do with your relationship and the sense the customer has that you, my listener, are not interested in him, that you have somehow gotten cold to him, you're not caring about him, you're not thinking about him. And really what you want to do as an entrepreneur is to have your customer think that he, the customer, is really the most important person in the world, and that there's just one, and that one customer is him, the guy who's just about to pick up the phone. And so that's what Josh McGinnis is all about. His business, again, is unlockyourbiz.com, and I hope you consider calling him or asking him about what he does and how he might be of benefit to you. My name is David Toulis. Our show is Nuganomics.com. We are all about local economy and the free market, and we've been proposing this morning, or this afternoon, that the giants of our day, the great business heroes, often run by government and owned by government, are not really in your favor. And we were looking at the whole question of the public school system. And something I think we need to understand, even though there were two editorials in favor of the establishment system, and conceiving the idea that this system can be reformed by administrative means, is really just it's just kind of sad. We don't have confidence in the marketplace. No one thinks that free enterprise, that the market economy will work. And so what we have to do is we have to have these sort of pilot fish on the belly of the shark, these little organizations that propose that to bring more advocacy to the business of government schooling. But there is in my analysis and my estimation, and even in my hope, a major decentralization ahead. And one of the areas that this will take place is in education. And look at the free market in education here in Chattanooga. Chattanooga is noted around the country for its free market offerings in schooling, and also in free market education, as in homeschooling. The home education sector here is very strong. There's a very fine organization that exists to help families do what they want to do with their children. And another area where decentralization is going to take effect is in the area of money. And I was mentioning earlier the Telegraph.co report. This is the Telegraph is an English newspaper, and Matthew Sparks is the head of technology, and has a very long piece that came out a couple days ago that I went through it very carefully today, because it has the germ, if you will, of the future. It is a kind of a prognostication of how the digital world, how the internet is going to bypass and make deplorably out of date many important sectors which we assume today are simply part of life, they're part of the normal landscape, such as banking. If you have Bitcoin, how can you have a bank? Now, I know Bitcoin is thought to be experimental in many respects. It is a cryptocurrency, a means of exchange which is totally private. It is outside of the banking system, and where it has an interface with the banking sector is its weak point. There's another weak point dealing with the fact that it is a non-referential currency. It is a digital currency that has by design in the programming a limited number of coins that can be created, or as it's called, mined. But aside from that, it is an experiment in the use of the internet to bypass a sector which has increasingly added costs to transactions and depreciated the value of people's money, the means of exchange. We have in our country the Federal Reserve dollar, and it is a pathetic piece of money. It is a currency that serves only the established interest. It does not protect the value of orphans and widows, the weakest in society, those whom we are to protect. It doesn't protect the stranger, which could be the alien in our country who's here illegally perhaps, who's a common man, simple man with children and aged relatives. He can't get ahead. His money is being debased as he keeps it in his mattress, as many strangers and aliens do. They don't use banks because they're here illegally, and so they are vulnerable to theft by the banking sector. Matthew Sparks talks about how underlying Bitcoin is a thing called blockchain, and blockchain is what he calls a peer-to-peer ledger that creates and records agreements on contentious issues with the aid of cryptography. He says a blockchain forms the beating heart of Bitcoin. In other words, this is the idea that underlies this private currency that's outside the banking system. He says until recently we've needed central bodies, banks, stock markets, governments, police forces to settle vital questions. Who owns this money and who controls this company? Who has the right to vote in this election? He says now we have a small piece of pure, incorruptible mathematics enshrined in computer code that will allow people to solve the thorniest problems without reference to the authorities. The benefits of a decentralized system, he argues, are going to be huge. Slashed overheads, improved security, and in many circumstances the removal of the weakest link of all, greedy, corruptible, fallible people. And he makes a reference to a concept called singularity, which is rather iffy because it is ultimately a religious idea. But the idea that Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies like it will come ahead are I think exciting because they point to an end to giant systems held up, as our public schools, by the use of force in the marketplace. The dollar, the paper dollar, is held in place by legal tender laws, which hold ostensibly that you have to accept in tender of payment of debt that paper note. Okay, so what that means is that as inflation occurs, you are forced to accept the paper dollar in repayment of a debt. Meaning, of course, you're losing money because you're losing buying power because the dollar has been depreciated in value, and that of course happens in inflation as the central bank and the banking sector creates more dollars in the lending process. The creation of every new dollar debases the buying power in the market of your existing dollar and the dollars you're expecting to be paid back. My my time has escaped me, but this is an exciting area, and local economy is part of the rise of what could be called digital anarchy. Even though local economy is local-centric and is rooted in people and place, the internet is going to allow for much more lococentrism, much more Nooga-centrism, South Pittsburgh centrism, if you will. This is David Toulis.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world. News Talk 1240.
You can ask yourself a question.
The right to keep and bear arms. It's your birthright. Be a stakeholder in the Second Amendment with an AR or an AK in self and home defense, in personal safety. Firearms Plus in Middle Valley is there to serve you. Firearms Plus will do a transfer for only $20. Firearms Plus, where you can buy, sell, and trade. And for the woman in your life, Firearms Plus has the perfect piece.
Firearms Plus has the perfect gun for me.
Firearms Plus, a new gun shop in Hickson on Mill Valley Road, just a stone's throw from Save-A-Lot. Firearms Plus. Mention Hot News Talk Radio and get 5% off. Firearms Plus, Mill Valley Road, Hickson.
Test drive a new Toyota and get a $25 Target gift card to buy a treat for your sweetheart. Capital Toyota's lot is glittering with rows of new cars, trucks, and SUVs. Come in and take a spin and enjoy a complimentary $25 card from Target. Call 888-404-9970 to get us on your calendar. Capital Toyota. Free car wash with any service and a $25 Target gift card if you take a test drive. Call 888-404-9970. That's Capital Toyota. 888-404-9970.
Earnhardt Jr. He's got third. He's going for second. Earnhardt going for the lead.
The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series is on the Motor Racing Network. Coverage continues Sunday here at Live on the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Check it out this Sunday live on Chattanooga's official NASCAR radio station.
News Talk 1240.
Do you feel better outside your home or business than in? Indoor air quality is important. Mildew, mold, smoke, water, and rodent damage are prime causes for indoor air quality. Ducts, Indoor Air Professionals, better known as Duct Busters, cleans HVAC systems using 127 definable Duct Busters steps. Let Mark Thompson address the indoor air quality at your business to help reduce employee illnesses. Prevent fires by cleaning your dryer vents. Mark and his parents, Dick and Joan Thompson, have been building our local economy and helping local people with HVAC systems 16 years. Ducts, Indoor Air Professionals. Call 876-9907. 876-9907. Ducks. Call now.
Hi, my name is Bruce Krebs with the Entrepreneur Source. I help people who want to be self-employed. I help my clients through a very fact-based and analytical process to understand all the criteria that's important to them. I then help them look at franchises or businesses that fit their criteria. Once my clients find the right opportunity, I help them find the best way to finance the business, including paying themselves through the startup phase. If you're just curious to understand the types of businesses that may be right for you, please call me for a free assessment. My phone number is 423-875-5621.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
NASCAR, Laura Ingram, Dennis Miller, David Toulis, Generation Z, Coast to Coast AM, and CBS Radio News. Chattanooga's news, talk, and sports leader.
News Talk 1240.
Fox News Radio, I'm Pat O'Neill. President Obama, in support of gay rights, to sign a measure banning government contractors from discriminating against workers based on sexual orientation.
An executive order regarding federal contractors would cover almost a quarter of the U.S. workforce. President Obama has done this before in other areas where bills are stalled in Congress. Republicans call it an improper use of presidential power.
Fox Radio's Steve Taylor. The Pentagon says it has no plans to coordinate possible military action with Iran in Iraq, stressing that it's only open to discussions at this point. Baseball great Tony Gwynn has died of salivary gland cancer at age 54. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2007.
Those people who pay to go watch you play. You're responsible. You gotta make good decisions and show people how things are supposed to be done.
Wayne won 8 batting titles in 20 years with the San Diego Padres. Fox News, we report, you decide.
Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Hi, David Toulis. Our show covers local economy and the free market. If you need tax services or accounting services, make sure you go to ejpelton.com, ejpelton.com. Eric Pelton is a CPA. His number is 622-3156. That's 622-3156. And he would like you, the Nuganomics.com listener, to think about contacting him for a chat about your embryonic business concept, wherever you might be in that process of starting your own little enterprise, being your own boss, having an investment in yourself. He would love to just hear out what your thoughts are, what your plans are, and he might bring you down to earth, or he might just encourage you on. He might encourage you to expand your concept and maybe direct you towards some other resources that will be helpful in the way of ideas, right? General ideas. And that's Eric Pelton. He knows about you, the Nuganomics.com listener, and he's there to help you, especially if you have an actual going and growing concern. He would love to advise you and offer you any of his accounting help. He runs a counting house, right? That's what accountants do. They count. That's their job. Every Friday morning, Panera Posse meets. It's a little gathering of men, dads mostly. I'm always invited, and I attend pretty faithfully. We round up the bad guys and put the money back in the bank every Friday morning, 6:45 a.m. at the Panera Bread Store in Hickson. Bagels and coffee are the normal fare. If you have indoor air pollution that's causing people in your office or your plant to wheeze and cough, and you think there might be something in your equipment that is at fault, consider having a check on your ductwork done by Ducts, the indoor air professionals, formerly known as Duct Busters. The Thompson family runs this business with an office in Middle Valley in a scope of service that is very, very great scope with a lot of customers in Saudi Daisy. The number is 876-9907. That's 876-9907. A professional staff and very reasonable prices from Mark Thompson. His parents are Dick and Joan Thompson. Usually Joan is the one who answers the phone. So give Duct Busters, known as Ducts, a call. You're at hotnewstalkradio.com or Hot News Talk Radio AM 910 in South Pittsburgh and 1240 here in Chattanooga. We're the station that has Laura Ingram and Dennis Miller, and 1 to 5 a.m. in the morning is Coast to Coast. We have Off the Hook with Pat Rose, a great fishing show that originates here in Chattanooga. Pat Rose, Off the Hook, and that's noon on Saturday and also 9 a.m. on Sunday. And we're the NASCAR station. We're the exclusive purveyors of the NASCAR races here in this wonderful market of Chattanooga. And I encourage you to use your time well, and if you are free to listen to NASCAR, that's a great way to spend your leisure time. We're the CBS radio affiliate. My name is David Toulis. Our show is Nuganomics.com. We cover local economy and the free market. One of my colleagues here at the station is Russell the Kid, who runs Digital Drive. He's very savvy about tech questions and is a man with a lot of ideas that favor the libertarian conception. And though he does better than just being a doctrinaire libertarian, as I hope myself to be, in my own mind, I'm more of a classical liberal. I'm a liberal in the sense that I favor liberty, and I'm liberal in the classical sense, in that I believe in the free market, like Ludwig von Mises and the others of the Austrian school, as they're called, of economists. One of my favorite writers is an economist, Gary North. I've read many of his books. He's a theologian and has written commentaries on books of the Bible that are economic commentaries. Like I'm in the middle of reading one that I've picked up on and off a commentary on Leviticus and how many of the ancient laws that affected the Israelites, the people who have gone away, are applicable and of interest today for their general equity, the general idea, the justice, you might say, the fairness, the openness for the other that is implied in the Old Testament regime of law. We've been talking about how decentralization is going to come to the economy, even though in the Sunday edition, both editorial pages of the Chattanooga Times Free Press seem to overlook this prospect, the prospect that the marketplace, especially in terms of the digital world, the PDF, that it is going to, as I like to suggest, as Russell the Kid likes to suggest, is going to bypass the state's cartels. And education or schooling, public school, the factory school is an evidence of a cartel. We were mentioning Bitcoin, which has been used for illegal activities such as the sale of narcotics on the Silk Road and other websites. But they're always, that's why there's been a war on cash, because cash since the 1980s has been deemed suitable to criminals and serving criminal interests who like to deal privately with their customers, and whose customers like to deal privately with them, right? And so cash is essential for privacy. That's always been true. And it's true even for a man who has only lawful interests, such as you, right? You care to do only things that are lawful, that are an exercise of your rights to property, right? That's what the right referred to in the Declaration of Independence. You have the freedom of property, which is a happiness. Happiness is reference to property. And let me just, there's an article in the Telegraph that I wanted to mention. There's a quote that brings out the power of the digit, the power that really is part of local economy. Local economy shares, though it's highly geospecific, you might say, to your place, right, your town. Even though it's local economy connects with particular places which are fixed on the earth and they can't be transported elsewhere, they can't be made abstract, because people live there, they move in the space and in the air that flows over that place, they drink the water from its river or from its wells, they travel its streets, they can't be excised. They're connected to that place. Local economy, while it is rooted in particular places such as South Pittsburgh or Chattanooga, it is also something which is enhanced by the intergalactic internet. And there's a writer named, actually there's a businessman who works in the digital world. His name is Andreas Antonopoulos. He is the chief security officer of blockchain.info, the world's largest Bitcoin wallet provider, with more than 1 million users, according to the Telegraph. Unlike many of the startups here, the company is several years old and already well respected in the Bitcoin community for building useful and reliable tools. And there's a quote from Antonopoulos that I wanted you to kind of think about with me in this 27-page analysis at the Telegraph, which talks about the coming digital anarchy. And we have to view, in this context, we have to view anarchy not as chaos, not as the lack of government. What we have to understand to be is the free market. Because don't forget, the progressive, your progressive friends, right, your Democrats, even some of your Republicans friends, they view the free market as anarchy, because you have to have regulation, right? That's their perspective. You have to have government sitting with an official at every corner directing traffic, because if you don't, people will be hurt. And the problem is, though, with the progressive theory, with statism, if you want to call it what it is that it makes the marketplace finally impossible. And so what happens is these systems that are state-oriented, state-controlled, serving, you might even say, the deep state, they become brittle and they collapse. And no empire No great nation lasts beyond 250 years. Even Rome, by one measure, lasted only 250 years. And the United States is at the very end of its life, assuming that it is, and assuming this analysis I'm referring to is correct. We're at kind of the end stage of our state as a independent and great nation. And we should not look at this with lamentation. Right? We should not have, I suggest, tears coursing down our cheeks because the United States is at an end. We need to understand that it is coming to an end. The great experiment in Republican democracy, if you will, or democratic republicanism, of federal government as a concept is coming to an end, and there will be in the future other forms of government, other forms of identification. There won't be necessarily Americans as we identify ourselves as Americans, right, belonging to a federal republic, living within a particular state and owing allegiance to that corporation through its flags, its songs, its stamps, its sayings, and its history. Antonopoulos says, people think Bitcoin is just a better way to do PayPal, and it's not. It's just like the internet. It's a platform, and on that platform you can now build an incredible variety of things. And here he talks about what this anarchy looks like vis-a-vis, face-to-face, or facing centralized systems. And local economy is about decentralization, right? It is about autonomy, of self-determination. It's not brought about, though, as among the Palestine Liberation Organization participants, by bombs and by hijacking jets. Decentralization in the Chattanoogan sense, in the South Pittsburghian sense, is brought about by the marketplace. And it's brought about by people like you, my listener, investing in yourself, having children, right? Having an independent life where you're not just a client, okay? And right now, you and I are clients of the state in more ways than we want even to count. We'd be embarrassed to say how often we are clients of the state. And supplicants before it, right? We bow before it, asking for favors. Antonopoulos goes on to say, we can't even imagine what things people are going to build. But just in the last year, from watching the startups in the space, I've been amazed at the range of innovation that occurs when you combine internet, the sharing economy, and cryptocurrencies. Of course, Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency. In other words, it's a currency by code. It's a series of codes, and it allows you to buy and sell things. This allows forms of self-reorganization that don't depend on parties or representative government at all. Now, you see what's happening here is in this in this man, in his discussion, he's saying that the digital economy is going to allow for there to be independent organizations apart from the state. Representative democracy, he says, was a solution to a scaling problem, the problem of scaling. The fact that you couldn't get a message across Europe in anything less than a couple of weeks. Well, that issue of scale has now been solved. In other words, we can communicate instantly to millions of people at once, right? That's what the problem of scaling has been solved. So the question is, why do you need representatives? Do you see where he's going with this? If you ask people who were born with the internet, they can't understand why we need them. A whole generation of people, Russell Stroud, for example, the phasing out of this representative democracy, this is already a normal and natural progression. And now we have the tools to do that. In my view, and this is probably why I call myself a disruptarian, centralized systems have one inevitable trajectory that has been validated throughout history, which is that as the people at the center accumulate power and control, they eventually corrupt the system entirely to serve their own needs, whether that's a currency, a corporation, or a nation. And he goes on to say decentralized institutions are far more resilient to that. There is no center. They do not afford opportunities for corruption. I think that's a natural progression of humanity. It's an idea that has existed for centuries and has progressively become more and more prevalent. The essential basics of going from monarchies to democracies, from distributing information, knowledge, education, and wealth to the middle class, the power to simple people, has been a trend that has lasted now for millennia. This is not some kind of libertarian manifesto or anarchist manifesto saying that we don't need mechanisms for achieving social cohesion. You see, he's trying to say, well, how can you have social cohesion if you don't have civil government? That's all. It's not some kind of crazy we don't need government manifesto. It's simply that we can make better governments when we don't concentrate power as much in the hands of a few people. So you see what's happened with public schools, with Federal Reserve notes, your green rectangle in your pocket, to name just two examples. What's happened is you have a centralization of power. And power, of course, is the ability to force people to do what you want. And when you become a patron of public schools, which are constantly reforming themselves, right? They're constantly getting new help in advocacy. They're getting new help in administration, and that's what's been in the Chattanooga paper in the past 3 days, how another group is going to be attaching itself to this body, this corporation of the public school, and getting people involved, right? Get business involved, get people to care about the public school, get people to vote for school board members, and which to more and more people, including maybe you, these are irrelevant exercises. They somehow miss the point. Why do you need a public school when you have a PDF? Why do you need to have a classroom when your students can watch videos that you agree with, right? On YouTube, you can have them watch videos that you agree with that tell the truth, right? As you understand it, that tell the truth, whether it's about economics or math equations. And you can have them sit down and watch those and repeat them, right? You can repeat the part that the student doesn't get, whether it's history or any other topic. Why in our day in Chattanooga, when we have the PDF available, if you can find a PDF public document format document in South Pittsburgh, how is it that Marion County schools continue to function? They continue to function because no one realizes that their whole raison d'etre, their whole reason for being, which is to centralize the control of the emission of knowledge, has been destroyed. It is destroyed because you have YouTube, you have the video, and the PDF. This writer, whose name is Andreas Antonopoulos, who runs a Bitcoin bank, if you will. It's not really a bank, but it's a kind of a house that manages people's Bitcoin portfolios. He's describing how the internet, how the digital revolution is destroying and will destroy, not by force, right? Not by compulsion, not by any vote of the legislature or a county commission. These cartels. He says, as my ancestors in Greek figured out more than 3,000 years ago, power corrupts. You can read about that in the writings of the ancient Greek philosophers, and nothing really has changed. Only that scale of power and the scale of misery that can be created when that power is wielded to do bad things. And he says there's another writer of this essay in the Telegraph quotes Daniel Larimer, who says that government itself is obsolete. And I think we have to understand that God made the world. I know you're not a Christian, but you have to understand that God made the world, and so there's always going to be the civil magistrate. That is part of that he has lawful duty to exist as much as the church does, right? The civil magistrate who wields the sword is made by God to be there, to oppress, punish, hound, harass, and destroy the evil doer, or make the wicked person make compensation, right? Make him do restitution. He has to be there, and that is because God accounts for the fall, which is, of course, the whole sin problem that is misanalyzed by many people. But in fact, the Christian church rightly understands the problem of the depraved heart, the greedy soul, the depraved and wicked, covetous mind that wreaks havoc on virgins and on the bank accounts of the poor. This Daniel Larimer, though, is quoted as saying that the government really is going to be done away with. And I think that in many ways he's right, that we just have to bide our time here paying these property taxes and paying these license license fees, and all kinds of other things, which are kind of traps that commercial government, which is also known as consolidated government, has brought into the marketplace, and where it sits stolidly, bristling with threats, bristling with claims upon you and upon the marketplace. This Daniel Larimer says, I envisage a situation where governments aren't necessary, that the free market will be able to provide all the goods and services to secure your life, liberty, and property without having to rely on coercion. That's where all this ultimately leads. The end result is that government will have less power than free markets. Essentially, the free market will be able to provide justice more effectively and more efficiently than the government can. So I see governments shrinking. He says they're going to be losing legitimacy as more open, transparent systems are able to provide that function without having to rely on force. And that, he says, that's his mission in life. He runs an outfit called, he's working on a tool called BitShares that applies the blockchain technology to banking, insurance, and company shareholding. And what he's perhaps an idealist, and maybe he doesn't quite recognize that we have the fall to account for. But as James Dale Davidson and Lord Rees-Mogg in their books in the 1990s pointed out, the welfare state is collapsing. It is going to go away. It can't pay its bills. It is losing credit. It is losing credibility among people. It is, as I like to say at Nuganomics.com, a very fine local website, by the way. It's called Nuganomics.com. That it is a kind of failed god. It has been made a god by people, including many Americans, even many Americans who go to church. I would say they pray to God on the Lord's Day, on Sunday, but in fact, their whole operation, all their lives are written in terms of government guarantees on everything from their bank accounts to the knowledge of their children. So the government schools are there to serve them. To care for their parents. These Christian people don't have to worry about their old parents anymore because they are on the federal dole. And we're seeing now more vividly than we did just 20 years ago the failing of this deity. And this deity, as it goes down in flames, will be seizing your accounts. Believe me, your government-controlled investments and savings are very vulnerable. I would not keep my liquidity in them. They are extremely vulnerable to confiscation, to be replaced with some kind of government bond that you can draw on in your retirement. You see, that's what's going to happen. But you've been lured into that because your own parents are on the dole, and you care nothing about them. You let your old mother live in a nursing home, and you go see her once a week, and she's just miserable. But she doesn't say anything because she doesn't want to be a burden on you. But she won't say how miserable she is, how lonely she is, how she can't hear anybody speak. And whenever she says something, the woman who works there, the overweight woman in the nursing outfit, doesn't understand what she's saying. And so your poor old mom is just beside herself. And yet we're going to be getting the same thing. Our generation, your generation, because we have worshipped this false deity of the state. So what do? I think we need to have an understanding that national economy is facing its demise, and we're going to have a more local economy, a hyper local economy in the next 20 years, I think, and we'll have at the same time an international economy. We were talking with Josh McGinnis, the business coach. He's pointing out that you can have global clients here with a small local business. So how does that work? You need to focus on local, focus on your customer, and think about the other. That's the whole theory of Nuganomics.com. Thinking about the other, putting the other guy first. What does he need? What can you do to prosper him? David Toulis here.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world. News Talk 1240.
Here comes Dale Earnhardt Jr. He's got third. He's going for second. Earnhardt going for the lead.
The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series is on the Motor Racing Network. Coverage continues Sunday here at Live on the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.